Hey guys, it's Lumen. Today I'll be reviewing the highly anticipated Monster Hunter collab with my thoughts on the middle and bottom rarity. Now I say middle and bottom, but in reality I'm just going to focus pretty heavily on the middle rarity and take a brief look at the bottom rarity. The info that is displayed in this video comes from Product, your one-stop shop for all translated news from the JP server. I highly encourage you guys to check out the website as it has become a mainstay for me in keeping up with the news. I, along with other players, also write articles occasionally on the blog section of the website known as PDX Academy, so do check that out from time to time. Okay, first up we have Rathalos. So buff-wise, in his active, he got Orb Unlock, right? So he unlocks the whole board now. Unlock all orbs, create 6 fire orbs, enhance all fire orbs, and then for one turn, this is new, for one turn, increase combo by 2. Now, first things first, I look at the active, and it's on a 7-turn cooldown, and I just think it's okay. I don't think it's very impactful at all, right? There's 4 different effects. Orb Unlock, 6 Fire Orb generation, Fire Orb Enhance, and then the +2 combos. Now, I think the +2 combos is kind of short, but at the same time, there are better ways. In an active, it's always iffy, because I always think of farming, but this is not really great, because you have random orb generation and a lot of different effects. My problem with this is it's just not very good at all. Like, you can get better alternatives. I guess my thing is, like, I'm thinking about this, right? I'm like already thinking, okay, unlock all orbs and enhance all fire orbs. I can get that in a card called Horus that does it on 2 turns instead of 7. And then if you think about it, right, that means there are 5 turns, right, that are given to 6 fire orb generation and +2 combos. Now granted, it's fair, but it's just not an active that I would really want. Like, I don't want all these effects, right? I'd rather have Horus who does 2 out of 4 effects, but on a much faster cooldown. Okay, so now we move on to his awakenings, and his awakenings are a little, I don't know, they didn't get changed, but in his super awakenings he got a VDP, and so, you know, he has like this kind of okay damage, double 7C, double fire OE. He could get a triple 7C, he could get a VDP, but overall I feel like it's very underwhelming. And the more I think about it, I look at his active again and I think to myself, this is something that would be really nice for leaders that don't have plus combos but need to VDP and 7C, because for one, it unlocks the board, so that means the following orb generation of 6 orbs is guaranteed, right? There's no lock impeding the orb generation. So you unlock the board, you get 6 orbs, right, which is 2/3 of what you need for VDP. You enhance the fire orbs for more damage, and then for one turn increase combo by 2. This allows you to get the combo count you need to hit 7C while also matching a VDP, because remember, VDP effectively reduces your total combo count by 2 because you're matching 3 combos worth into 1 combo. So by giving yourself 2 extra combos in the active, you can overcome that lower combo count and successfully reach 7C while hitting your VDP. That's what I think of it. Unfortunately, I don't think it's that great. There's a lot of plus combo leads nowadays. Think of like Sana, right? Maybe Gillian could use it, but even then, I don't think it's that great for Gillian. I think there are more tasteful options, I would say. I'm not sure where I would use this. And plus Gillian is kind of outdated because you can use Sana. Now I'm talking about the top of the top. Maybe you're using a lead that doesn't have plus combos, and this might be a suitable option for you to hit the VDP plus 7C to reach maximum damage or overcome spawns with VDP and combo shield. So yeah, that's how I see it. I don't think it's that great, but it could be useful in that sense only, and I feel like it could be helpful for new players with underdeveloped boxes. Moving on to the first equip, we have Rathalos Flamesword. Now Rathalos Flamesword is originally, right before he got buffed, he was one of the only 4 fire OE equips in the game, and he has 4 fire OE, team HP, and his buff simply gave him a lonely jammer resist, which is nice. You know, maybe you're team building and you need more jammer resist. It's always nice. I don't think it's terribly impactful, but it's better than nothing. Now I do want to point out the scarcity of 4 fire OE equips, and that there's only, okay, off the top of my head, you have this one, right? You have Kutku's equip, who is also in Monster Hunter. You have Elatrion's equip, also in this collab. And then you have Reimu's Wand, who has 5 fire OE. So yeah, it's one of the few 4 fire OE equips, and thus I think it does have some value in that sense. I think it gets overshadowed by all the other options, to be fair, but this is not bad. I think this is pretty good, especially with that team HP being so valuable. I think this is pretty decent. Moving on to the second equip, we have Suncore. Now this one has a red takoyaki and 2 fire OE. So right off the bat, I look at those awakenings, I'm like, this is team-wide damage multipliers galore, right? Because it's 2 different sources of team-wide damage in one equip. You have takoyaki and fire OE. So I think it's great in that sense. Now in its active, it has unlock all orbs, change top row to fire orb. So this is fixed orb generation. And then for 2 turns, bypass at absorb shield. So I think this is great, not only for regular content, but also for farming. Like for farming, this is an inheritable board unlock plus row generation plus at absorb void. Like I think it's very strong. It could be useful. Of course, I'm not sure if there are any other alternatives, right? Maybe there's something else that's better and I didn't think of it, but I do think this is a pretty strong equip. The only lamentable part is that in terms of farming, you really don't want the OEs, and the takoyaki is like almost never used. So it's kind of an oof, right? Like if it had some rows, that would be really awesome. But I mean, it's still pretty strong, and it can also translate to endgame content too, right? Like you can inherit this and use it as your at absorb void, right? And at absorb void has been really strong since Shura 1, Ultra 1, and now it translates to Shura 2 and Ultra 2. Very strong, and the package of team-wide damage plus the attribute absorption void tech is really strong in my opinion. And it also generates orbs. So let's say you need to like VDP Sharius, right? Well, it gives you orbs to VDP Sharius with. So yeah, I think it's strong. Moving on, we have Kirin. Now Kirin, active wise, for 1 turn, increase combo count by 3 before it was 1. Change the top row to light orbs. So I think this is great. I think this value has a really strong farming application. Either you could use it for light row swiping, and this will help you get your combo count into the stratosphere. For example, let's say you're farming with Sogo Akita and there's a spawn like, let's say, Anubis in Scheherazade Descendant, right? Now this is very specific, but Anubis has a 9C shield. So what do you have to do? You need to match 10 combos. Well, if you run double Sogo and you have Kirin and you use her active, him, I don't know I'm not sure about the gender of the monsters. I kind of feel like it's a her, but yeah, I don't know. So Kirin, if you use her active with double Sogo leads, you can reach 10 combos off 1 light row swipe. Very useful in that sense. Could also be useful in off color row, right? Like let's say you are farming and you use a Pemdra active, right, to get the full board green, but you need some more combos. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna pop Kirin, right, and that will give you an extra combo, and it will give you 3 extra combos from the active as well. Now it would be better if it was in the middle, right? Like let's say you made a middle row, like, you know, second from top or second from bottom, but this is pretty great, I think. So yeah, and a 7-turn cooldown as well. It was buffed from 9 to 7, so very strong farming wise. Not sure if it would be that great in endgame. I think there are cleaner ways to solve this, is my feeling. So yeah, in terms of awakenings, got buffed, extra skill boost, extra half second of time, and in his super awakenings gets a 10C. I don't think the 10C is impactful because Kirin feels like a farming tool, but the extra skill boost is very welcome, and you have a good selection of super awakenings such as skill boost and light row to pick from. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. Moving on to the first equip. The first equip is one of 2 equips with 4 light rows on it. Now it didn't get any buffs, probably because they thought, hey, buffing the active was good enough. And I think it is, honestly, but it is one of 2 equips with only 4 light rows, the other one being Zeus Giga's equip. So I think it has enough merit in that sense. Okay, moving on to Kirin's second equip is Naar Thunderlance. So this one has, it ditches the rows, and it has cloud and 3 light OE. So I think it's a unique package. Active wise, it has create 9 light orbs from non-heal orbs. I know it sounds really lengthy, create 9 light orbs from non-heal orbs, but it's nice because like if you have your orbs, like heal orbs, erased by this active, sometimes it's really frustrating because you need to heal and you can't, and it's, oh my god. So create 9 light orbs, and so that's enough for a VVP for 2 turns, 3x attack for light, and it's on a 9-turn cooldown. My gut feeling is this act is not going to be that great. It's not that necessary at all. If you're running it on a light team, which based on the OE, I think you would be, I think it's an okay equip to charge up, right? Like if you charge up, I don't think you would necessarily be too angry, right? You'd be like, oh, what a waste. But at the same time, you're like, hey, free 9 light orb generation, I'll take it. Free spike, I'll take it. So I think it's okay. I think the main appeal is in the Awakenings, Cloud Resist 3 light OE. Both very useful in augmenting damage and getting that Cloud Resist defensive application. So yeah, not much to say. It's just a nice utility based whip. Okay, moving on, you have Glavenus. So Glavenus base form, active wise got buffed, so for 2 turns, right? Before it was 1 turn, for 2 turns, it's now 3x attack spike. It used to be 2x attack spike. So before it was for 1 turn, 2x attack for dragon and attacker. Now it's for 2 turns, 3x attack for dragon and attacker. So longer, stronger, better. There you go. And then lastly, you have to change the second column from the right to fire orbs, and it's still on a 9-turn cooldown. I think it's nice. Could be useful for farming, possibly, but I don't think it's that great of an active, so I don't feel like there's much to talk about there. Awakening wise, the small fingers got condensed into fat fingers, and now it has 2 fat fingers instead of 3 small fingers. So aggregate wise, it got an extra half second, and then it got an extra 7C. And then in the Super Awakenings, it also got an extra skill boost plus option. So that's very nice. It could possibly have 4 skill boosts, or it could have triple 7C. When I look at Glavenus' Awakenings, I feel like it's like a budget machine killer option, and this could be nice if you're running like a Gillian in Shura 1. Maybe your box is underdeveloped and you don't have all the greatest options in the world. Well, Glavenus could be very strong, and even if your box is somewhat developed, it could still be a strong option against spawns in like Shura 1 or Ultra 1 where machines are very prevalent. Maybe if you're more behind and you're still struggling on the earlier arenas, that's pretty cool. This could be also useful in Coliseum 2 as well. Yeah, the thing is there are other options like Napoleon that are much more potent, or Inahime that brings along a better active and a VVP, but Glavenus certainly suffices, has a Fua in its own right, and more time, and a good amount of skill boost if you choose to go that route, or just a lot of damage. I think it's okay. Not my first pick. Definitely a machine killer tech option though, and options are always good. Moving on to the first equip, we have Glavenus Helldanova, and in terms of buffs, it only got a change to its Awakenings. Awakenings wise, it used to be a tape with 2 enhanced killers. Now it's tape, 2 enhanced killers, and 2 evil killers. This is pretty interesting. I don't think I would really use it. Like, killers are very situational, so their uses are very niche. Either they're needed or they're not. Could be useful for some ranking if you needed both of the killers or the tape or something. In terms of endgame content, I don't know if I would particularly say it's that great, but there has been more evil and enhanced material monsters. Like, for example, for Shura 2, you have the very tanky Dragon Seed who has 2 billion defense. So bringing double killer means you reduce the damage needed from 2 billion to around 222 million. Quite a large reduction. It's also very nice for killing off floor 4, which has a lot of enhanced and evil materials. Overall, it's not bad, but it's very niche because of the, you know, the nature of killers, and I don't think it's particularly useful at this moment in time. Moving on to the second equip, you have Glavenus Hellnova. So before it was called Glavenus Helldanova, and this one is called Glavenus Hellnova. Great, I'm never gonna confuse those, right? Okay, in its equip, it has Healer Killer, Team HP, and SPR. So quite an interesting combination. I think it's cool. I think the Team HP is quite nice, and the Healer Killer can be useful for something like Sena teams versus Sunquan. Sunquan is extremely tanky and could be considered the bane of Sena teams, I think, especially in Ultra 2. So Healer Killer, Team HP, SPR. I don't think the SPR is that useful, but again, it could be, you know, better than not having it, I suppose. Active wise, it's for 1 turn, 2x attack for fire, for 1 turn, 2x or move time, and delays enemies' next move by 3 turns on a 13-turn cooldown. So this is actually a conditional 3 skill boost card, right? Because it has a 3-turn delay. So with that in mind, I don't think it's terrible at all. I do think it wouldn't be my first pick. I wouldn't really use it because I feel it's a little inelegant, but it is certainly an equip that could be used, and may see use on like something like Sena teams for ASR2. Otherwise, again, it's very situational. Killers are always like that. And healer killer, the thing is, while Sunquan sucks, right, and you need a lot of damage to kill Sunquan, healer killer isn't really used in any other part of the dungeon except maybe the beginning against the carbuncles. I don't even remember. So it's very niche, not really that useful. I would much rather bring along like a physical killer or an attacker killer or a devil killer. So yeah, again, killer situational. If it's not that useful, right, if there are not a lot of spawns with that killer type, then the killer is less useful than if there were a lot of spawns. It is what it is. All right, moving on, we have Mizutsune. So active wise, for 6 turns, 3x RCV. For 6 turns, increase move time by 1 second. This is new. It didn't have this increased move time before. For 6 turns, heal orbs are more likely to appear by 15%. And the active is 8 turns. So Mizutsune is interesting because it's like enhanced Skyfall Awakening for heal orb, but it's only up for 75% of the time if you're constantly using it. I mean, interesting, I guess. Heart orb hungry teams are always very niche. Like you have ear and then you have like heart cross teams and things like that, but overall I find them very niche and not at all that great, because it's like, yes, they boost your recovery technically, but they're not boosting damage. So I don't know, I think about it and it's like, well, you're just gonna stall a lot longer with more heal Skyfall. So that's my feeling on it. Maybe it's really good, I have no clue, but I don't think it's that great, and I think it has very niche usage, which is fine, but the niche isn't that great right now. Awakenings wise, it got an extra half second of time, and then in its super awakenings it got a super jammer resist. So this is nice. It becomes more of a utility stick than before, and you know, before it was a utility stick too, because you had a second of time, skill boosts, Fua, which is great, and then 3 team RCV, which greatly boosts recovery now, because 3 team RCV is like a 60% increase in your recovery, which is actually kind of significant if you think about it. Now on top of that, you can get a super jammer resist super awakening. I mean, that's pretty good. Yeah, Mizutsune is interesting, definitely oriented towards heal orb hungry teams, but overall I don't think it's that great, and I'm not sure where I would even use it. So if it doesn't have a use, then it's not good in my opinion. Moving on to the first equip, you have Dark Aurora. So before it had 2 team RCV and a heal OE, and now it rearranged the awakenings, right, which is kind of cool, I guess, and then it added a recover bind. So Dark Aurora is a very, very strong healing augmentation option, right, because you got the heal OE, which greatly boosts recovery for the card, and then you got the team RCV, which greatly boosts recovery for the entire team. So it just makes it a lot easier to recover for your team. Not sure how useful that would be, but if you need it, it's very strong. The recover bind is a nice and niche piece of utility to add on. I myself don't use it like at all, so I wouldn't consider this great by any means, but it's better than nothing. I look at the buffs and I know I say it a lot, hey, it's better than nothing, but it really is. But at the same time, it feels like it's not that useful at all to me. However, I'm thinking of other players who do use it, and it's like, okay, maybe you do use it for the ogre floor in Shura 2 Ultra 2. Who knows? Maybe it's useful for you. I'm not sure. Okay, moving on to second equip, you have Eventide Kazanagi. So second equip has a Fua. So it's one of the few Fua equips in the game, and so Fua equips, can't remember, I think the first one was in Fujimi Fantasia Bunko with Guri Gabri. His equip is actually very strong, but I think that was the first one, and we've been slowly getting more and more and more, which is nice. So now we have another one in Eventide Kazanagi as a Fua, a recover bind again, and then you have a blind, a jammer, and a poison. So in other words, it's the Trojan horse kind of set of resist. A Trojan horse also had poison, jammer, blind, so I just call it Trojan horse set of resist. So active wise, it unlocks all orbs, changes the leftmost column to heal orbs, and then for 1 turn 1.5x RCV, for 1 turn 1.5x attack for water. So it's basically a recovery buff, an attack buff, and then you get a Fua column generation, and then you get a board unlock as well. Very nice. It's on a 5-turn cooldown, so it's quite short, but it's on an equip, so I actually would not like this short cooldown because the active is not as impactful for me as I think it needs to be. But then again, if it comes up, I don't think I would regret it at all. I would be like, hey, cool, I get a free attack buff, I get a free recovery buff, and I get a Fua. Not bad. The problem with a Trojan horse set of resists, right, 1 poison, 1 jammer, 1 blind, is that nowadays with the advent of super resist, some of them aren't that useful, right? Like let's say you have a super jammer resist, all of a sudden one of these is useless, right? Jammer is useless. Now it's effectively a blind and poison only. One of the resists is useless, so it's like, I don't know. It's decreased in value in that sense. Although it's okay because you have the Sengoku 3 equipped. Like they have 4 skill boost and 4 of the resist. And so if you pair with one more, it gets you to 5. There's an interesting dynamic. Overall, I don't think it's that great because super resists are just so prevalent nowadays, but I think it's okay. Moving on, we have Valphalk. Now, Valphalk is, if I remember correctly, he has like a 4-second move time in his leader skill. Anyway, yeah, 4-second move time clause in his leader skill. So he's used for like, memeing around, improving your overall quality of play, stuff like that. I don't know. Active skill wise, deal 1000 fixed damage to all enemies. Unlock all orbs. The unlock is new. Change all orbs to fire, water, wood, light, and dark. And then the cooldown was buffed from an 8-turn max to 5-turn max. Cool. The laser is kind of cool. I don't think it's that useful. Could have a niche use in farming, but I can't think of one right now. You have the board unlock and then the guaranteed board, which is kind of nice, but at the same time, no heal orbs kind of sucks. But it is a nice rainbow board generator on a low cooldown with an interesting laser effect. Awakenings wise, he got buffed so that he got an extra skill boost, right? And then in his super awakenings, he got a skill boost plus option. So he could have 4 skill boosts. Cool. I think it's okay. I don't really see a use for Valphalk in any team whatsoever. There's just better options, right? Like, yeah, he has okay damage with 2 TPA, 2 7C, possibly 3 7C, but there are better options for damage, and his active is not that great. I would use better rainbow board generators. It can help you out in a pinch, but just not that great overall. I don't see a clear and definite use for him, except for memeing, which is admittedly, that's a grand purpose. But other than that, not really. So maybe he'll get buffed again to become very good, but who knows? Okay, first equip, Magnastar Will. Got buffed so that it has an extra poison resist. So it has TPA, 1 blind, 1 jammer, and now 2 poison. Again, I made that point with the Mizutsune equip about having 1 of each is kind of bad because of super resist, but yeah, it is what it is. It has the resist, so you gotta live with it. Of course, it's now skewed towards poison for resist equip, and then the TPA is also very nice for TPA teams. Overall, I don't know. TPA is kind of an inefficient damage awakening, so I don't like it. And then the resist spread is like not concentrated, so I also don't like that. So overall, I don't like this equip at all. Of course, if you're running TPA teams, maybe you could use this, but at the same time, for me, it's like, yeah, I'm not using this. Okay, second equip, Magnastar Caist. I like this a lot more. It has a dark takoyaki, team HP, and a single poison resist. This is much more pleasing to my eyes. Dark takoyaki is just the future of team-wide damage. It's so strong. If you match 2 combos, it's already pretty strong. Once you start matching 3, 4, 5, holy moly, it starts stacking like never before. Very strong, very strong. I made a couple videos just hyping about it, mainly with light teams, but still incredibly strong. I would definitely make this equip out of all the forms. I mean, maybe you want to meme around, you want the base, or maybe you want the TPA equip, you want the first equip. But for me, I think this is much more suitable for modern content today, and so I really like it. Active wise, there's a 2 turns 3x attack spike for dragons, and then it replaces the board, which is cool. I don't think it's particularly useful or particularly meaningful in the context of endgame dungeons, but deactive on equips are not as important, to be fair, because you're not going to use them that often. So it's on a 10-turn cooldown, reasonably long, although could come up if you're not careful. All right, next we have Brachydios. Brachydios. Very strong. I love this card. And that's because in the active, it's a 350x attack AoE light button. So already very strong. It used to be 300x and now it's 350. So it moves it to become better than Durandolph, which, to be fair, kind of sad for Brachy because Durandolph is farmable, Brachy is not. So now it's better than Durandolph. And then it changes the top and bottom row to Jammer. So it could set up for some farming utility with double row generation of Jammer. Who knows? 350x AoE light button is already very strong. I love it, and it's on a reasonably short cooldown as well on 16 turns. Now you might think 16 turns, that's pretty long. Well, in terms of buttons, it's actually pretty short and could be very useful in terms of solo buttoning, for example. So I love it. Awakening wise, it got an extra half second of time, and then it got a 10C in its super awakening selection. However, if you're going with the button, you're probably just going to inherit, or you're probably going to make the first equip and then inherit, or you're going to go for the skill boost Super Awakening anyway. So yeah, now endgame content wise, or you know, just arena content, technical content, whatever, it's a very strong devil killer stick, right? You got 7C, 10C, double 80 HP, and double devil killer. That's a lot of damage. I mean, what, 2.25x, 22.5, and then 9. What is it? Can I math? I cannot math. It's a lot of damage is what I'm gonna say. Oh, I think around 200x against devils if you match 10 combos as well. Very, very strong. Other than that though, it's not that great. I mean, it has the button active, which is not good in technical content. Strong devil killer stick. Very, very powerful button. I love it. I mean, I love buttoning. It's very efficient. So anytime there's better buttons, it makes me happy. Okay, moving on to the first equip. We have Zvolta Annihilator, and it has 4 light OE, 1 80 HP awakening, and before it used to be 1 attack stat plus awakening. Now it's 2 attack stat plus awakening. So you might be thinking, hey, that kind of sucks as a buff, but in reality it's very significant for buttoning, because if you can increase the attack stat that you're working with, then it also increases the damage of the button significantly sometimes. So it's nice in that sense. Zvolta Annihilator is one of the 2 equips with 4 or more light OE. The other one is Faska's wand, Dezon. No, Dezon is pretty strong, but you know, this serves as a substitute. And not only that, because it's a button active, the cooldown is very long, so it's nice for not overcharging. I think it's great in that sense. I think it's better than the base, although the base has a devil killing value, but this I think is stronger. You want to use it for buttoning if you're inheriting, and you could also use it for light OE damage as well. Okay, moving on to Brachydios' second equip is Unbindable, SBR, and Team HP. Now the combination of Unbindable and SBR is actually not that common. I think there are only a couple of equips with that. You have the ninja equips that have Unbindable, SBR, and like a couple of rows and a couple of jammers. And then you have, what is it? Orisha's hat, I think it's called Frau. And then you have Safi Jiva's equip, or its second equip. So why is this useful? First of all, the thing I think about is Mikage, right? And why do I think of Mikage? I think it's pretty out of the blue, right? So let me explain. Mikage, before he transforms, is bindable. Mikage, before and after he transforms, has no skill bind resistance. So if you're working with him, ideally, you want to protect him from being bound, and you want to make sure that the team has enough skill bind resistance to not get skill bound. Therefore, this equip will cover both of those in one, right? It also has team HP to make the team even tankier than before. Although the thing is with Gillies, in Mikage in general, Mikage has 16x effective HP, so you don't really need this, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. So team HP, go, go, go. Of course, ideally you want to use Safi's second equip for Mikage, but you know, Safi Jiva is a top rarity card in the Monster Hunter collab. This is not. So maybe you have this and not have Safi Jiva, and this can serve as a suitable replacement. Active wise, for 1 turn, greatly reduced damage, but no Skyfall. Unlock all orbs. Change all orbs to light and jammer. I don't think it's an active you want unless you're working with a light team. Light and jammer bicolor is just, if you're not running a light team, this is kind of useless. Now the shield is quite nice. Maybe it can serve as a pseudo skill boost, possibly. Like protect yourself from taking damage. Not sure how it would work, but very conditional, I would say. Also, you got the light and jammer bicolor on top of that as well, so it might be a little awkward. Moving on to one of my favorite 6 stars in the collab, we have Legiana. Now Legiana, active wise, recover unmatchable orbs by 7 turns, recover awoken binds and regular binds by 7 turns, replace all orbs, 8 turn cooldown instead of 9. The unmatchable is new. The bind and awoken binds reduction by 7 turns is also a buff. It used to be 5, now it's 7. And then of course you have the skill cooldown reduction from 9 to 8. I think this is very strong. And the reason is because this kind of cleric active that covers binds, awoken binds, and unmatchable orb statuses, very, very strong in Shura 2, Ultra 2, where these enemy attacks, right, or enemy debuffs come over and over and over again, right? Like for example, on floor 1, admittedly won't be that useful, but you can cover it by having your entire team unbindable. You have floor 4/4/5. Are we going to be talking about Shura 2 or Ultra 2? Anyway, you need it for the ogres, right? You need it for the ninjas, and then you need it for possibly Okuni, although I don't think you'll really use that. Need it for Odin Syndra, you need it for Gillies under 50%. It's just quite a lot, right? And so having this active, which you can use over and over again, is a great counter and a great tech to help you beat the dungeon. So Legiana is amazing in that sense. Awakening wise, you have an additional skill boost, an additional half second of time, and then Super Awakening's got a team HP option. Legiana's HP stat is not that great, but it has a lot of team HP, so it really bolsters the health of the entire team in general. And it has an L too as defensive utility. The thing is, it doesn't really do that much else. You could get a guard break and utilize that against the Dragon Seed, but that's very, very interesting and very, very out of the way, right? Like you would, if I'm thinking of endgame teams, right? Like for example, if I'm team building water team for endgame, Shura 2, Ultra 2, I'm probably going to use a defense break instead of guard break, because guard break you have to fit in all the attributes and that might get a little off. Again, it really depends, but not sure how I feel about this one. Probably not my cup of tea. The problem with Legiana is not Legiana herself, but rather the state of water, and that water is the most disadvantaged attribute in endgame, right? In Ultra 1, Shura 1, you got the Manoas. Base Manoa is green, so your damage is half, and then the evil Manoas are all half green. So once you hit them below half, then your damage is halved, and G-Manoa is full green, so your damage is half for the entire duration of fighting G-Manoa. Very awkward. Even worse is Shura 2 and Ultra 2, where you have a Dragon Seed that has 2 billion defense, meaning water simply cannot kill it. You have to either use Autofua, you either have to use Guard Break, or you either have to use a Defense Break. Very, very awkward, makes it very difficult, just not great overall. Otherwise, if water was on top of the world, I think Legiana would be a lot more popular, but as it stands, water kind of sucks, and so Legiana kind of falls off by the wayside. Now, moving on to first equip, you have the Shattercryst Plus. Honestly, it's one of 2 4 water roll equipped, and I love it. I've used it in a couple builds, even farming TA2, which if we're talking about endgame disadvantage, TA2 also is bad for water because you have to kill Naar, and more importantly, you have to kill Fama, and those two really suck because they're tanky. So yeah, it sucks. But I've used the Shattercryst before. The only other one is Zordon. That was any exclusive Power Rangers collab, and I don't think we'll ever see that again. So one of the only 2 water roll equips that have 4 water roll awakenings. Very, very strong, very powerful for farming. Maybe not useful for other things, but very strong for farming. And to be honest, if you're running like a water roll team, it'll be strong for that too. So who knows? Now, moving on, you have the second equip, Legia Snowfletcher. This is also incredibly strong. First of all, unbindable, skill boost, and double water OE. So right off the bat, I look at it, I'm like, dang, that's really strong. If your lead is bindable, if your sub is bindable, you can use this and patch it up and get a skill boost and get water OE. Very, very strong. In the active, it has 2 turn delay and a tricolor board change of water, wood, and heal. Ridiculous, because now if you think about it, unbindable, so covers the binds, right, that could be on floor 1, like Shura 2. You have skill boost, and you have an effective 2 more skill boost from the delay if the first floor is delayable. Incredibly strong, very strong for water. Again, water is disadvantaged, but this is honestly quite a boon, and you don't even need to limit yourself to water. You can use it for other things as well, just to take advantage of the effective skill boost. Moving on, you have Gore Magala. Now, Gore Magala, active-wise, removes unmatchable effect completely. This is new. It didn't do this before. And then, of course, you have remove all binds and awoken skill binds, and then change Jammer Poison, Mortal Poison, and Bomb, so all hazards, to Dark Orb on an 8-turn cooldown. This is actually kind of crazy, because it full clears binds, awoken binds, and unmatchable. And I was just hyping up Legiana, like, oh, look at this Cleric active. This is amazing. Shura 2, Ultra 2, you need this all the time. Hyping her up. She's only a 7-turn reduction of all the statuses. This is a full clear, right? So you could even use it on floor 1 to clear the 10-turn bind. Absolutely amazing. I think it's pretty strong, to be honest. Even clears hazards if you need to in a pinch, so that's strong too. Awakening wise, you have unbindable. The skill boosts were condensed into the skill boost plus. It got an extra half second of time, and then it got an extra 7C, so that's cool. It's VDP and now double 7C, along with Cloud and a God Killer. And then in Super Awakenings, it got an additional VDP option. Honestly, pretty strong set of awakenings. My only problem is the God Killer, which isn't very useful at all in terms of endgame content. Maybe that will change in the future, but God Killer, not that great. However, you can always pick triple 7C VDP, which is strong on its own, double VDP, double 7C, which is strong as well, although I would prefer the 7C. You can even get a FUA. You can even get a Guard great. So I think it's great. Moving on to first equip, you have Achtungsblick. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I probably butchered it, but the equip is very strong. Healer, Killer, L, and double Dark OE. Now it's triple Dark OE. Quite strong. Healer, Killer, again, not that great. Kind of okay in TA2. It's like great for the first few floors. Kind of okay for Shura 2 because of Suncore. Overall, pretty niche. The L is also nice. I think it's used right now in the Hot Putt tournament. So honestly, it has value there, but otherwise, I think it's just okay. Not that great. Moving on to the second equip, you have Teufelsschleuder. I don't really know how to pronounce that, so I apologize of how horribly I butchered it. Now, second equip has double team RCV, which again, got buffed recently, so now it's 40% additional recovery. Pretty significant. Also has a fat finger and a single poison red. I think the main appeal of this equip is in the active, which has a 1-turn attribute Absorb Void and Fujin, and then has a tricolor board of Dart, Heal, and Poison Orbs on an 11-turn cooldown. 11-turn cooldown. Honestly, kind of ridiculous. Very, very, very short for an attribute Absorb Void plus Fujin. So yeah, I think it's pretty strong in that sense. Also has pretty decent awakening. Probably will be useful in endgame content, although it is limited to dark teams because of the tricolor board change. Moving on, you have Rajang. Now, Rajang is, holy cow, it's strong. And that's because if you look at the active, it is now deal 550x attack light damage to a single enemy. Granted, it is single target, but aside from that, strongest button in the whole game. And it just got even stronger. Like before it was buffed when it was 500x, still the strongest button in the whole game. Now it's 550x, even stronger. It is single target, so you got to keep that in mind, but like it's ridiculously powerful. Can't really say much about it. You know what? If you're farming something, not really replaceable, or it's very difficult to replace. It's an expensive option for sure, but a lot of the other things in this collab you can replace, right? Like a Latry on a clip, you can make do with something else. Like for example, you could use a Teufelsschleuder that I mentioned, or you could use a better Fujin, so you could use like Palone or something. The Rajang just doesn't have a replacement. It's downright difficult, if not impossible, to replace if you need it in a build. So unbelievably powerful. I think it's great. Yeah, nothing much to say. Maybe I'm hyping it too much. If you don't farm, it sucks. I don't know what else to say because its value is entirely concentrated in farming. But you know what? If you farm and you button farm, you know this is actually just busted. Awakening wise, the Unbindable Awakenings got condensed, the skill boost got condensed, now it got an additional Fua and team HP. It keeps its double tendency and triple wood always for massive damage, and it has an additional team HP option in its Super Awakening selection. A very powerful damage stick for wood. The only problem is if you're using it for technical content and game content, for example, the damage is quite strong, but the active is pretty terrible. So there's that. In terms of its equip wise, it has negative HP, it has tape, it has low HP, it has an L, and now it added a skill boost and an additional attack plus awakening. Honestly, very, very strong. Like very, very, very strong, because you know what, if you're buttoning, right, and you equip this, the cooldown is very long. So you want skill boost. Oh wait, the equip brings a skill boost. You want more attack. Oh wait, the equip has attack plus stat. So honestly, super, 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 super strong. Great for farming. I'm not sure where I would use this in terms of end game. Like the HP minus is a bit harsh. It's tolerable, I guess, but it is a bit harsh. You have the tape, which isn't that great. Ultra 2 doesn't even need it. Ultra 1 and Shura 1 don't need it either. You have the low HP, which is kind of risky, and L, which is great utility, but again, kind of iffy. One team I can think of is like Hitagi Senju Gahara, which cuts its HP every turn to generate water orbs, which means you can continually make use of the low HP equip, and you can use the tape for Shura 2, you can use the L for Shura 2, you can use the skill boost to transform. Could be useful in that sense, but very niche again, and more often than not, I don't think it'll be used that often. But like for buttoning, oh my god, OP. Second equip, you have Demonlord Cruncher. It has 3 team HP, which is great for Shura 2 and Ultra 2. You want lots of HP to survive the big hits in that dungeon. And then active wise is 100% shield for 1 turn and 3x spike for wood and light on a 12-turn cooldown. This is kind of awesome because 3 team HP AP and a conditional skill boost if you can use it, right? Like 100% shield means you don't take damage for 1 turn. So it effectively buys you a turn if you need it. I think it's really cool because Rajang before without this equip was very, very heavily farming focused, right? Like I keep going off on the button, but it's ridiculously powerful. However, it didn't really have that much value otherwise, right? Like, yeah, the 10 double 10C and the Widow E, but the active is such a deficit. It's such a drawback that you don't really want to use it. Now you have an equip that if you're not into farming, you can make the equip, gives it a lot more versatility, and I think that's very strong for Rajang. So cool. I mean, I personally would have loved to see like a different button active. I don't know, like 450x AoE light. that could have been so powerful. But it is what it is. I love the versatility, multiple different niches, multiple different uses. So pretty cool. One is good for sure too, and then of course the base and the first equip focused on farming. Moving on, you have Lagiacrus was introduced last run. Now Lagiacrus buff wise, it got reduced unmatchable orb effects completely. It didn't remove any binds before, so now it removes all binds and awakens skill bind. So we have Legiana, Gore Magala, and now we have Lagiacrus as the third one, who becomes a very, very strong cleric. And then it creates 5 water and light orbs as well. I mean, Lagiacrus very, very strong. Now it's a great cleric option and on a reasonable cooldown, clears binds, awakens skill binds, and unmatchable orbs completely. Awakening wise, it got an extra skill boost, and then super awakening wise it got a skill boost plus option, so it could have effectively 4 skill boost. Now I look at this Lagiacrus and I think to myself, this is a legitimate option on Ryume. Ryume teams can definitely use the 777C triple L for massive damage. You can use the active for sure to Ultra 2, great option, and then the 4 skill boosts are quite reasonable as well. The only problem is it doesn't bring any other utility, and Ryume himself brings a lot of damage, but you know what, damage is always great because the spawns are so tanky. So yeah, very, very strong. I think his main value is for Ryume, but could be used for other things, although I'm not sure what. Moving on to the first equip, you got Electrolagia Gunlance. Now it's a triple light OE, 1 gemmer, increase to 2 gemmer, and an L. Again, I think a Ryume very strong because you add an additional L for damage and you would add light OE, and now you add more gemmer resist. Sounds great to me. Not sure how much I would use it, but it sounds pretty strong in general. Now of course it competes with other options like Shiranaki's equip, which has double L, which is quite a lot of damage, but the OE is strong in its own right. I wouldn't underestimate it at all. Moving on to the second equip, your Thunder Crash Blaster is unbindable, TPA, and double blind. Now TPA for me, inefficient damage awakening, so I think it sucks, but it is what it is. You know what, in a pinch it's a 1.5x attack boost for the combo, so could be very strong in that sense. Unbindable and double blind res though is kind of unique. I think there's like Cecil's equip and now you have like Sakura's keys, but it's not that common per se. Active wise, for 3 turns reduce damage by 50%. For 3 turns light orbs appear more frequently. This is cool because it's a multi-turn shield, which you can either use in the beginning to stall, or you can use later on something like Gillies, right, where he's gonna kill you if you don't put up the shield. And the thing is, when you have a multi-turn shield, it's quite convenient because let's say you're trying to kill or you're trying to hit it under 50%, right, but you miss damage control for whatever reason and he's still above 50%. Well, if you have a 3-turn shield, now you have 2 turns left to try again, so on and so forth. However, it's a 1-turn shield, then you got to wait for it to recharge, and that's always a pain. Okay, moving on to the last 6-star, the orb skin, we have Seregios. Now Seregios, active wise, for 9 turns before it was 5, increased combo count by 1. For 9 turns, slightly reduced damage taken. Before it was, no, it didn't even exist. So it's a new effect completely. And then it's on 10-turn cooldown, so for 90% of the time you have 1 extra combo and a shield. I think it's cool, although the thing is, I like 100% uptime. I don't think 90% cuts it because it just reduces the consistency, right? Like you have the vulnerability of 1 turn where your shield is not up, or 1 turn where you need that extra combo wasn't there. Very iffy. I wouldn't like it in that sense, but you know what, 90% uptime for someone else might be acceptable, so it's up to you. Awakening wise, it did not get any changes to its awakenings, so that's slightly unfortunate, I suppose, but it did get a 10C and a super awakening option, so I think that's cool. Awakening wise, it's not really that great. Double machine killer and quadruple TPA. And then now with the 10C, it could be really strong, but I don't know. Geared towards Sure 1, Ultra 1 for sure, but TPAs are pretty inefficient, so I don't love it at all. Moving on to the first equip, yes, Sedition Splitter, which has tape, 3 auto heals, and now light takoyaki. Now, I love the light takoyaki. I love the tape res, although it's not that great anymore. The auto heals are interesting because there aren't many equips with a lot of auto heals, although what I will say is the one with the most, Kimi Udon, is farmable. So this is not that great in comparison because it's an orb skin that is technically worth $15 versus a farmable that's just better. But it has a light takoyaki, so maybe it changes up the balance a bit. Either way, it's not bad, although to be honest, I think the only useful part is the light takoyaki, and I don't think that's enough to justify its value, but oh well. Second equip is also another light takoyaki equip, but it also has an SBR and a single lonely gemmer resist. Now, SBR, again, most teams have a full kit of SBR, like every card is SBR, so you have 120%, you're fully covered. However, if you don't have enough, this could be really handy in patching that up. Also has a lonely gemmer resist, can pair well with Sengoku 3 equips, and the light takoyaki. I love it. Again, I'm gonna mention it, self-plug, shamelessly. I made a bunch of videos on takoyaki. Well, not a bunch, just a couple, but you know what? They're incredibly powerful, and for that reason alone, you should probably consider looking at Brachydios a bit closer. Like, he used to be pretty bad, and I rolled him quite a lot, and I'd be always frustrated because he sucked. But now he has value in his equip. It's better than nothing. Active wise for Brachydios' second equip, unlock all orbs, create 6 light orbs for 2 turns, 2x spike for light, and then for 2 turns, enemy defense becomes 0. I think this is quite interesting because let's say you're going in Shura 2, all Shura 2, you need to kill the Dragon Seed, but the defense is too high. You can use this to nullify the defense, and it gives you a very, very tight window to kill off the Dragon Seed. So I think it's quite convenient in that regard. Not a bad equip, although the active, very limited to Shura 2, Ultra 2, I would say personally. I don't think you would use this in like TA2, for example, but yeah, could be very strong. Not sure how I would use it. I don't know. Maybe you use it on a Feru team. I have no clue. Although Feru doesn't have shields, so you get kind of screwed in that sense. But yeah, not bad at all. Not sure where I would use it. Maybe for some weird light team in Shura 2, Ultra 2, but yeah. All right, moving on to the 5 stars. So I'm only gonna go over them briefly, just cover the buffs and what I think about them. Honestly, not that great. I mean, the 6 stars got a lot of love this run. They got, all of them got second equip, and I mean, whenever you get an additional form, it's great because it increases your options and increases your versatility. So yeah, a lot of love for the 6 stars. 5 stars generally ignored. So first one we have is Raytheon. Raytheon active wise got a cooldown reduction from 12 to 10. I think it's okay. The equip once upon a time used to be incredibly broken, but now it's just okay. Triple poison res with 2 turn delay on a 10 turn cooldown is actually still pretty strong. You know what? Great budget option, but if you have better options, you'll probably leave this alone and not touch it. So yeah. Next we have Tigrex. Tigrex cooldown reduction as well from 7 to 6 turns. The active was change all orbs to fire, wood, and gemmer. Not that great. Could possibly use for like Grigory. I don't know. Doesn't sound that great at all. Moving on, we have Nargacuga. Nargacuga, I think it was the triple blind res equip. Leader skill, fixed 4-second move time, 2x attack, 2x recovery for dragon type, and 10x attack now when 6 or more combos. Before it was 6x attack. Now I look at this and I think, wow, it's very strong. And now it's a 25x attack lead on its own. And if you have 2 Nargas, you have 625x attack. However, it's a fixed 4-second move time lead, right? So don't take it too seriously. It's really hard to match 6 or more combos. However, if we're gonna dig deep, we have a better option that's farmable in the form of Tuck Toys. Tuck Toys fixed 3-second move time and has what? I think it has 1.5x HP and the shield. I'm not sure about the shield, but I know it has better survivability and it has even more attack. It's 30x attack on its own, 900x attack together. So sorry, Narga, turtle beats you. Moving on, we have Gammoth. Gammoth, I always make fun of because it's like, this is Monster Hunter. Everything's a dragon except Gammoth. So it feels kind of weird. I think Gammoth is like physical something. I'm not sure. Anyway, active wise, cooldown reduction max 9 turns, now it's max 8 turns. The active was create 3 water, wood, and dark, delay enemies next attack by 1 turn. I think it's okay. Actually, no, I don't. I think it sucks. It's not good. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what his equip is. All I know is that whenever I see him, I cry. That's it. Okay, moving on, we have Astalos. Astalos is delay 2 turns, and then for 2 turns, light orbs are more likely to appear by 15%. The max cooldown was reduced from 10 to 9. I think it's okay. Astalos is pretty strong in its awakenings. I heard, right? I've never used it, but I heard it's a really strong budget damage stick, right? Because there's a lot of TPAs and a good number of 7Cs. So, you know what? Maybe it's strong in that regard. I mean, if you have TPA 7C, that sounds like Rajang Fasca department. Yeah, I mean, great budget option, I guess. And 2-turn delay is always nice, I suppose. I mean, for a 5-star, I'm not going to ask for much. This is okay. Barioth, you have active-wise, max cooldown reduced from 14 to 12 turns. It's a tricolor board change, a water, light, and heal, and a 2-turn delay as well. I think it's okay. Again, it's a 5-star, and I don't think it's that great. I wouldn't really use it. Not bad. Paolumu, you have again, I think all of them is just, they didn't even touch them. They just reduced the max cooldown. So max cooldown reduction from 10 to 8, tricolor board change, and 2 turns, 1.5x or move time. Paolumu was the one with the triple jammer. Is a great budget option if you need it in a pinch, but otherwise it's kind of whatever. You know, if you rolled it before, Paolumu's just not that great, so it's whatever. And last but not least, we have the newest 5-star Yan Kutku. Kutku got a cooldown reduction from 4 to 3, and then the active is recover 20% of max HP and create 3 fire orb. I think with the 3-turn cooldown, it has some meme system potential. I wouldn't really use it at all, but it could be used as a meme. So you know what? There is system potential. Who knows? I might make a build around them. So with that, we have successfully covered the entire Monster Hunter collab. Of course, I only covered the middle and bottom rarity in this video, but if you look at my recent videos, I should have one on the top rarity as well. Thank you guys for watching. I know it was a long one. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section below. I'll see you guys next time. Good luck and have fun.